Now a household name thanks to I Think You Should Leave, Tim Robinson was previously a relatively unknown cast member and writer on SNL, but all things considered, he's found the right role for himself. There have now been 50 seasons and counting of Saturday Night Live, and countless writers and cast members have made their way through the doors of 30 Rockefeller Plaza in that time. Some members have stuck around for years, while some SNL cast members don't make it very long at all. Others jump from writing to the cast or vice versa. It's hard to guess how well a comedic talent will adjust to SNL. Some incredibly gifted performers have not lasted long, and every fan has that one cast member that they can't believe is still hanging around. For whatever reason, some very talented performers are made on SNL while others need to leave before audiences get them. Tim Robinson falls in the latter category. The star and creator of the absurdly funny I Think You Should Leave had a surprisingly short stint on the show, but maybe it was his leaving that allowed him to fulfill his potential. Tim Robinson's early career and introduction on SNL. Robinson first appeared as a featured player in season 38. Dave, Tim Robinson, and John Tesh, Jason Sudeikis, performing Round Ball Rock on SNL. Tim Robinson began his career touring with Second City Detroit, in his hometown, before moving on to the Second City Chicago troupe, which is more or less the feeder team for Saturday Night Live. He was quickly noticed by SNL talent scouts, who invited him to be a featured performer for SNL season 38, the first season after Kristen Wiig, Andy Samberg, and Abby Elliott departed the cast. He was joined by other newcomers, Aidy Bryant and Cecily Strong. That year, Vanessa Bayer, Taran Killam, and Jay Farrower were all elevated to repertory players. Robinson struggled to make an impression his first year, not entirely unusual for new cast members as they find their way. The legendary Aidy Bryant even had an unremarkable debut year. Robinson always felt slightly out of place in his sketches. His loud, strained voice that is so hilarious on ITYSL doesn't always translate to live TV. There were a few notable exceptions, however. Round Ball Rock has become a cult favorite, featuring Jason Sudeikis and Robinson as John and Dave Tesh, the creators of the famed NBC NBA theme song, who think the song could use some lyrics. His sketch Z-Shirt is another winner by Robinson that allows him to play the exhausted, undermined character trying to keep it together that is known so well for. He and host Kevin Hart show off their new Z-Shirts, but not before Hart goes through every letter of the alphabet. Even here, though, Robinson has to play a much more subdued character than the kind he would become known for. There are plenty of zany and over-the-top performances on SNL, but Robinson had trouble marrying the live theater aspects with the unrestrained nature of the characters he was trying to play. His move to writer on Saturday Night Live was a good decision. Tim Robinson and Zach Carnin met each other in the SNL writing room. Bobby Moynihan handing Zentrix to Dwayne Johnson in SNL's enhancement drug. Robinson only lasted one season as a featured player, but that doesn't mean he left SNL. He instead became a writer on the show for the next 3 seasons. The announcement came in September 2013, but no reason was given, via NYT. From the way Robinson talks about the movie, it sounds like it was not his decision. Via Our Detroit, Robinson did not let his move off the cast get him down, and he instead used the pressure to help improve his writing. He found his time as a writer on SNL much more freeing. If his skits bombed, no one would know because he wouldn't be performing in them. It was as a writer that Robinson got to showcase his unique sensibilities without worrying about how he would have to perform. The SNL doesn't always reveal the writers behind sketches, so it can be tough to determine exactly what sketches Robinson penned. It is known that Robinson met his future I Think You Should Leave co-creator Zach Carnin in the SNL writing room. Robinson said about the pair, there are at least 2 SNL sketches that feel like they were definitely written by Robinson and possibly Carnin as well. The first is First Impression from season 44, episode 8, hosted by Jason Momoa. Robinson is credited as a writer on that episode. The sketch features Beck Bennett preparing to meet his girlfriends, Melissa Villaseñor, parents, Jason Momoa and Heidi Gardner, for the first time. He decides to create an elaborate hide-and-seek game instead of greeting them. Bennett's refusal to accept the weirdness of the situation is very ITYSL coded. Another possible Robinson sketch comes in season 42, episode 21, hosted by Dwayne Johnson. Again, Robinson is credited as a guest writer in the episode, which features enhancement drug. The sketch focuses on a character played by Johnson doing a voiceover in a drug commercial for Zentrix. The Rock's voiceover becomes increasingly unhinged as it's revealed Zentrix is actually a black market drug. It feels very Tim Robinson-esque with the escalating voiceovers and commercial marketing that doesn't stop even when the skit dissolves into chaos. Tim Robinson's brand of comedy works best when he's in control. Robinson needs room to be explosive. Tim Robinson and Carnin left SNL after season 41, and the pair, along with Robinson's longtime friend and collaborator Sam Richardson, got working on Detroitus, an early testing ground for Robinson's I Think You Should Leave style comedy and a dramatically underrated series that far too few people watched. Only 2 years after the premiere of Detroitus, the same creative team produced I Think You Should Leave, an absurdist comedy sketch show that is arguably one of the funniest TV shows or movies to come out in the last decade. The seeds of what Robinson could do were present in his time at SNL, but it wasn't until he left the late-night sketch show that he really got to be himself. He was on a leash on SNL, and not because SNL stifles creativity. As much as people want to complain that the new SNL is terrible, it still consistently produces memorable, weird, and funny moments. Robinson was on a bit of a leash because the format of SNL restricted his exact type of humor. Robinson needs every frame in a scene. Each character is critical, and the camera has to linger. That's impossible with rapid-fire SNL-style comedy. Music cues are huge in ITYSL, as are sound effects. The song that plays over Tim and his POS buddies shaking champagne on the beach, the odd gear-grinding noise when Robinson meets Stewart's, Bennett, other friends at lunch, the quick aside from a man in the hot dog sketch when Robinson suggests someone needs to spank him, well, one of us is gonna have to do it. These aren't easily replicated on live TV, even with pre-taped sketches. There hasn't been a show like I Think You Should Leave in a while, and there hasn't been a performer like Tim Robinson in a long time either. While his time on SNL may be looked back on as a bit of a disappointment, it's his efforts on the show that gave him the confidence, the connections, and the skills to produce something truly memorable.